It's time to make the Dark Fae look like the Dork Fae. Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and we are here on the Free to Pause account because we are going to talk about the boss to farm in Doom Tower. And when I mean the boss to farm, I mean the single greatest Doom Tower boss to farm for gear, and that is the Dark Fae. Why is the Dark Fae so important? Well, the Dark Fae gets you lethal gear, and lethal gear is savage gear, which is endgame damage dealing gear, but better because you get an extra 10% crit rate on top of it as well. You're always worried about getting those extra crit rate substats? Well, you don't need them quite as much with lethal gear. On top of that, because you can forge the gear, forging gear allows you to control the substats you get and aim for what pieces you might want to such an extent that it is so much more powerful than just farming gear. If I can forge and I can increase my ability to get mythical or legendary or epic pieces, as well as the fact that I can make sure it's more likely to be 6-star, and I can make sure it's more likely to be gloves or a chest or boots, and it's more likely to have the speed substat or the crit rate substat or the crit damage substat or even the accuracy substat. Useful stats for the gear. Forging gear is absolutely amazing. So enough about forging gear, let's talk about the Dark Fae. So this is the Dark Fae. You're going to find it on this particular rotation that went live, basically 3 or 4 days ago as of when I'm recording this video. And she is on floor 40, 80, and 120 of both the normal and the harm Doom Tower. What does she do? Well, she does all kinds of cool stuff. She's got an AoE that puts leech up. She attacks all enemies, can steal buffs. She can attack all enemies and have other allies join in. She can banish a champion, and that's the real trick of her. But I can explain all this stuff here, but it's very simple the best way to deal with Dark Fae. Dark Fae starts off by making a copy of your team. And it is a pure copy of your team with almost every single piece of gear as well. So do you have revenge accessories? Well, so will your duplicates. Do you have reaction gear? Well, so will your duplicates. Will you have stone skin? Well, okay, your duplicates are not going to copy your stone skin gear. That's actually one of the few things that doesn't seem to copy properly. But for the most part, if your champion has it is either a regular skill, a passive, however they're booked, whatever their gear sets are, your copies are going to deal with that as well. The advantage that you have is that tiebreakers on turn mean that you go first. So your fastest champion is going to go first. On top of that, then, if you don't do anything with the turn meter, well, the exact copy of your fastest champion is going to immediately take a turn, and then you'll take a turn, and then they'll take a turn until somebody kills the other one, or you've lost because you have lost control of the fight. At some point in time, the Dark Fae, as their first attack, will copy one of your champions, generally the one that's going to be doing the most damage. They tend to copy either your highest powered champion available, or at least the highest crit damage champion available. So very regularly, for example, my Alice gets stolen in this team if I have nobody available on this. And that means you then also get true feared when that happens, and you have to kill your one copy of the enemy. And from there, you have to do 3 or 4 more actions from the Dark Fae before the Dark Fae will again continue to copy other champions. And if she manages to get a full team together and then take another turn to copy, it's just not good. I think that is the attack where she actually attacks with absolutely everybody and just murderizes your team. So don't let it get to that. So how do you deal with Dark Fae? Well, what you want to do is you want to build a team that generally has a speed lead of some kind, because you want as much speed on your team as you possibly can. You want champions that are going to decrease the enemy turn meter or increase your turn meter, or possibly both. And you're looking for things like increased speed to put on your team to give you the edge. And so basically you are looking for a way to jump your turn meter forward, take control of the fight, knock out your team, seize control of the Dark Fae, and prevent her from taking turns, because the fewer turns she takes, the less dangerous she is. So how do you do that? You're going to want champions that put decreased speed up. You're going to want ones that drain turn meter. And again, you're going to want to be able to drop her. So you're going to need to do damage in some way, shape, or form. So As you can see here, I've got a team that is built around speed, 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 and speed, and then Alice for damage, but also some speed as well. So let me talk about this team specifically. Not that this is the ultimate team necessarily, but this is a team that works very well so far. I've been quite happy with it. And the core of what I generally like to look for in a team for Dark Fae is here. So we'll talk about this particular team. I'll show you a run, and then we'll talk about other champions that can be very good for the Dark Fae, both easily accessible ones and of course endgame ones that you might have that might be really, really good otherwise. So here is the trick about Dark Fae. In order to deal with Dark Fae, you need to have a team that is going to be able to make it through the waves without needing all of their abilities, because you are going to want very specific abilities to be available when you finally get to the Dark Fae. So in order to do that, you're going to want to make sure that you control the abilities you're using and understand how many turns it is going to take for you to get there. So for example, Morrigan, she has a 4-turn cooldown on this Velocimancy, which is the decrease turn meter of the enemies by 20%, increase your turn meter by 20%, and put a 30% increased speed buff on all allies. These are the 3 things that you want to deal with. You want your increased speed, you're missing decreased speed, but that's what the A1 comes for. In fact, you see the A1 here, decreased speed. You want the turn meter decrease, and you want the turn meter increase. So she is one of the first people to take a turn, and she decreases your enemy turn meter and increases your team's turn meter and gives everyone increased speed. That's absolutely amazing. So that's why we're going to need to make sure that we deal with this. And this is the ability we're going to want to lead off the fight with. My fastest champion, however, is Arbiter. Arbiter's 336 speed, and she of course has her Mentor of Heroes, which gives you a 30% turn meter boost. On top of that, she has this one here that gives you a 20% turn meter boost. So Arbiter gives you an awful lot of really good turn meter boost here. So having Arbiter on the team makes some sense. Plus, she also gives me the increased attack for Alice to make sure that Alice absolutely positively obliterates all of the guys on the team that I have brought here. And that is something else you do need to consider, is you ultimately need to have somebody that can nuke down your own team. So you're not going to want to bring a defense-based nuker to this, because your defense-based nuker may struggle to nuke either themselves, or somebody else may struggle to nuke them down. Or there's other champions that just may be too tanky for you to actually use if you're worried about being able to beat them with whatever damage you're going to be dealing with here. So we've got Arbiter here doing the speed as well. And you'll notice I've got this, she does the Mentor. It's a 3-turn cooldown. So she does it in the first round to give me the increased attack, get through the first wave pretty quickly, and doesn't do it again. Allure pretty much does her Temptation, doesn't do it again. And I'll talk about that one in a little bit. The Temptation here is the decreased defense with some sleep. Mine is not booked, so she barely lands this decreased defense, but she might, so it could be actually pretty useful. Alice here, she's got her AoE, so I don't mind clearing the first wave with this AoE, but I want to make sure I save it. One of the things that makes Alice really good for this, in this particular one, is the fact that she will reset this skill after killing a bunch of the enemies on this one with her TikTok passive here. So this, on the first turn, she kills everybody. On the next wave, if everyone dies again, she'll have this reset for round 3, even if this is on a 3-turn cooldown. She doesn't need to take any other turns, actually. She'll have this reset and ready to go on round 3 if I never use it again. And then Cold Heart. Cold Heart's amazing. We all know Cold Heart's amazing. The Heart Seeker is an absolute great ability in here because you have the 100% turn meter decrease, and of course you do a bunch of damage with this as well. So that is why we're bringing Cold Heart. She is really, really good against the boss. But honestly, she's actually pretty good against the waves too, because this is an AoE hit, and my crit rate's only 74%, but I've got a ton of crit damage on my Cold Heart, so she's going to be doing a good amount of damage. Honestly, I probably need to rebuild my Cold Heart because this 191 speed is probably a bit of a liability in this team compared to everything else. And it's, and what kind of speeds are we looking for? Well, for Dark Fae hard 40, you're probably looking around 200-ish speed for the boss. I believe she goes to 225, around 80, and she'll be close to 250 on floor 120. So you are going to want champions that are significantly faster than 250 speed to be able to take control of the enemy team. And that is where such things like the aura can be very helpful. That 19% speed aura that Morrigan has, that is going to be adding 19 points of speed effectively. It's adding off the base speed of all my champions to everything they do, which should make this so much easier to deal with. That is where these increased speeds are going to be very helpful as well. So again, we've got the first wave here. So Morgane's never going to use her Velocimassy on round 1, nor on round 2, because on round 3, I need her to kick off the fight with it. Arbiter uses the Mentor of Heroes on round 1, doesn't use him on round 2, and doesn't even use Destiny's Call on round 2, because that means on round 3, we've got this as the first thing, 30% turn meter boost, which then goes into Morgane, who then does another 20% turn meter boost and a 20% turn meter decrease on the enemy team. And now I've made a huge gap, and now I can start killing people, and then I can start making sure the boss doesn't take a turn. But the Destiny's Call is another one to make second. That means I'm going to get this extra 20%. So quite often, Arbiter is going to be 30% turn meter and then 20% turn meter, then another turn, then 30% turn meter, then another turn, then maybe 20% turn meter. If not, I'll get the 30% quickly afterwards. Alice is actually really good for this, partially because she has a turn meter decrease on this ability right here. So not only do we want to save this to be able to wipe floor with everybody else on the enemy team, but we also want it because it has a turn meter decrease as well, which can be very, very helpful. And finally, Coldheart, who honestly I wish was a little bit faster. I've got her leading off with her flurry of arrows to basically clean up anything Alice doesn't actually kill, because she cannot target the boss, because the boss is going to be under a veil to start with as well. That is definitely important. But she'll then do the Heartseeker whenever she can, and that'll keep the turn meter under control. And again, this is where I probably do want to speed up my Coldheart for future content. But on level 40, this does work just fine. So again, Morgane speed 300, Arbiter speed 336, Allure is 255. Allure can be faster than this. You just want to make sure that Allure is not faster than your fastest champion for some strange reason. Allure cannot be your fastest champion, because if Allure is your fastest champion, she will take a turn, and then the enemy Allure will take a turn, which will disrupt everything you want to do and be bad. So you want to make sure Allure is not the fastest champion on the team, but she can be number 2 or number 3. She can certainly be faster than this 255. She just doesn't need to be 336 as Arbiter is right here. Again, having her faster probably would make this run just a little bit better, but mine's actually only a 5-star. So once I make her a 6-star, she'll speed up a little bit, because I believe her base speed goes up just a little bit, and I'll be able to put a banner on her as well. So I can probably get another 8 to 12 more speed on her fairly easily by just making her a 6-star. And again, Coldheart. I have not rebuilt my Coldheart in a long time. In fact, it is since the free-to-play challenge, I don't think I've rebuilt my Coldheart. So it is time for me to rebuild my Coldheart at some level to make sure that I can get this speed to be much better. But I'm going to run it like this because this has actually been working so far. So that is the thought of the team. You know, you're going to have different champions you're going to want to use. Well, you're going to want to pay attention to what skills you're going to use. You're going to make sure that you save. Anybody that has a turn meter increase and or turn meter decrease is going to want to save it for their first ability. Allure, because she does place this decreased defense with an AoE and a chance to sleep, I want her to be A1ing with, or beginning off with this. Because actually I don't really need it to. She can lead off with this because I could get this decreased defense, which could make the difference between Alice killing people and not. But honestly, my Alice kills most people most of the time anyway, so I don't necessarily need this. So I could just leave her on this A1 constantly and not really worry about it as well. And then again, Coldheart set up, and here's Alice set up as well. And I have this set up here because one of the things you can eventually use to do more damage is make sure you get through the veil. Well, her A1 will strip the veil off, and that triple hitter on that Vorpal sword oftentimes does more damage than the Queenslayer does, at least at the lower levels. Maybe on the higher levels, I may decide that that's not the best option. But that is the way the team is set up to run. We are going to run it here. And really, once you can get through the waves, that's the important part. So just got to get through these waves here. And to be fair, we still have a lot of turn meter control here because we still have Alice nuking a bunch of stuff. We've got Coldheart doing some decent damage. She's actually got some decent turn meter control in that A1. But honestly, most of it is Allure is also going to be doing some turn meter control to keep everybody from really taking much of a turn. And that honestly is mostly going to let us get through the waves. See Alice doing some work there, killing things. And from this point, we'll just slow this down once we get to the boss to kind of show you how the boss fight works. All right, so we just, well, we almost beat him. We have to wait for to beat the auto resurrection. So I'll turn off auto. I'll turn this on 1x just so you can kind of see what's going on here. So she creates duplicates of all of our champions and veils herself. So we're going to, and on auto, this would work just fine. I'm just going to manually go through how it should work on auto. So auto, we're going to give everyone the extra turn meter boost. We're going to, again, give everyone the extra turn meter boost and shrink their turn meter and give everyone increased speed. Allure is going to use her AoE to get some decreased defense up there, hopefully. I honestly wouldn't have minded if she got it up against the boss. We got it on everybody else, though, which is actually pretty impressive. And then Alice is just going to murderize everybody here with that. As you can see, we got a little bit of turn meter control here. I've got Coldheart doing her A1 here first. She does have the ability to drop turn meter with that A1, so that is going to drop a little bit of turn meter. That is good. Arbiter is going to increase our turn meter again. Now we have Morgaine here. She will drop a little bit of turn meter with her A1 because of the mastery she's got, and she got decreased speed, and she got it all up. Allure, going to drop that turn meter as well with her triple hit there. Drop the turn meter down. We're doing good. And from here, we actually have this fight under control. Alice can go and strip off some of this veil here, and there goes the veil. So any AoE attacks will be better. Coldheart's going to drop this turn meter down, keep on getting some of this decreased speed up or keep it up. But as long as the boss doesn't really take a turn, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to hit full auto at this point in time here, turn this back up to 2x speed. And as you can see here, Allure is basically going to keep the turn meter down, but we're also have Coldheart doing some help, and we've got RB constantly boosting our own turn meter, and we've got Morgaine constantly boosting our turn meter as well. We occasionally have Alice dropping the turn meter, and you basically have a bunch of different turn meter drop, turn meter control, turn meter increase happening to keep the Dark Fae at bay. And that's basically how this team works. Now, if I had done doing this not manually, it'd be done in about 3.5 minutes, because that's about how this team runs. Obviously, I slowed this down quite a bit to talk to you guys, so we'll skip forward a little bit to where this is done, but as you can see, the turn meter is slowly but surely getting closer and closer to nothing, and it's not going to get too much closer than 3/4 of the way there, because Allure is going to drop it so far down when she hits. And here we go, about a minute and a half or so after I said goodbye to you for a minute, we're going to skip forward, and we are here 5-minute mark, a little bit further, and we should be done with this right there. So there we go. We're getting some materials. Not a ton of materials, because I think you need like 5 of the legendary ones and 10 of the purple ones to be able to forge any of this stuff. So we don't even have enough to forge one piece of gear with this one run. But that's why I've got 11 more keys left out of the 15 I would have had for today. And you farm this every day, and eventually you get to level 80, where these rewards get significantly higher, and then eventually you get to level 20, where these rewards get even higher than that. But even if this is the only one you can actually farm, getting just a little bit of lethal gear can help propel your account significantly further. So let's talk about the builds on these champions, as well as other champions you can use in some of the slots for these champions if you don't have all these champions, or you want to build other champions. All right, so first off, you do need a damage dealer of some kind, because you need somebody to be able to come and wipe off the enemy team. Alice does a pretty good job of it because she locks everybody out. So if for some reason she doesn't kill somebody, hopefully she's not because she weak hit. You do want to pay attention to the affinities because of that ability to weak hit possibly. And she does a good job with that. That's actually one of the reasons I'm not using a Geomancer in this particular team, because Geomancer adds the ability to weak hit, which means that she could possibly weak hit, not actually kill Geomancer, and then Geomancer is not going to help as much as I might otherwise hope. Plus, Geomancer does do some turn meter steal, but as long as the enemy is not taking a turn, Geomancer is going to do no damage, because his reflect damage is never going to deal damage if the enemy team never attacks. So Coldheart is generally a better champion than Geomancer is for this, just because she is bringing some actual damage. Alice, great damage dealer for this, but there's honestly plenty of other damage dealers that do a good job with this. Acrisia is actually a really interesting option for this. Acrisia brings some turn meter control on her A3, as well as that actually big nuke on that A2. Newt can be very effective at doing the big nuke, other than the fact that Newt has trouble killing himself with his AoE, but obviously he's got the turn meter control in the A1 and the absolutely big boss killer on that A3, so Newt can be a very interesting champion for this as well. I really like Tuhok the Wanderer. He is a very good orc champion that does some turn meter control, decrease speed, increase speed. He's got a couple of good skills that work great against the Dark Fae. Vlad, his Nightborn is actually really, really good for this as well, because he does have some turn meter control as well as some turn meter stealage in some cases as well. And being a Void champion, he has no chance of weak hitting as well. So he can be very, very good for this as well. That's another good option for you. There are plenty of interesting nuker options for you, as long as you make sure that your nuker is somebody that can die themselves, doesn't have some sort of self-resurrection mechanic. Sun Wukong, bad to bring for the Dark Fae, because Sun Wukong will self-revive on the Dark Fae side, which is not what you want. So you just keep that in mind, and keep in mind some of those special abilities, but you're going to make sure they do a good amount of damage, they're fast, and they, can nuke down your own team. It's another reason to possibly bring some squishier champions. Arbiter's a speed champion. Any speed champion you bring is going to be a speed champion. Don't have Arbiter yet? High Katoon actually fits this team very well. Don't have Morgaine? High Katoon fits this team very well in either of those two spots. High Katoon has a 3-turn cooldown, increase speed, and turn meter boost. So does Apothecary. So you could use Apothecary and High Katoon as 2 of your speed boosters to keep your speed up, to keep your turn meter pumping. And honestly, High Katoon's actually fairly good for this as well, because High Katoon on her A1 actually has decreased speed, big version in fact as well. It's kind of nice. And she does have a turn meter decrease, although it's again a 50% chance on this ability here. But if you've got this ability booked, the rest of this is gravy if it happens to land. And if it doesn't land, it's not a big deal. So that is very, very helpful overall. Other champions that can be good instead of Morgaine. Well, Morgaine was compared to Lysandra. Lysandra has a very similar ability here in the Velocimancity. So Lysandra can be a very good champion for this as well. Lady Kimmy can be a very good champion for this as well, other than you do have to be careful about Lady Kimmy's passive, because she will boost turn meter when she receives debuffs. So if you give her too many debuffs, she will actually jump the line and cause a problem for your team. But if you can get around that, Lady Kimmy is very good for this, because she brings increased turn meter, decreased turn meter, increased speed, and decreased speed to your team, plus some turn meter control on that A1 as well. Plus she brings a 30% speed aura in Doom Tower, so Lady Kimmy is another good option for you as well. Deacon Armstrong gives you some turn meter increase and decrease. Deacon Armstrong is actually a goat for this particular thing. He is absolutely amazing. Nekmo Thar can be very good because he brings the increased speed and the decreased speed. Oella could be very good. There are plenty of speed champions for you that are dedicated speed champions. But you're just looking for ones that ideally do some turn meter drop as well as turn meter increase, because it is very difficult to keep increasing your turn meter over somebody else's, because at some point in time, you're just not going to be able to keep on increasing it and the other person is going to go. So having some turn meter decrease is super valuable. And that's where champions Coldheart come in. Again, Coldheart has the enemy max HP that can do some extra damage and a 100% turn meter drop. But again, I mentioned Geomancer. Geomancer has a 100% turn meter steal, even if it ends up being only a 50% against the boss, because it's a steal on a 3-turn cooldown. It's effectively on a 2.5-turn cooldown if he can get back around to it. You just need to make sure that the enemy team is dead before he does that steal, or else he might steal one of the enemy champions that's not the boss, and then you're not in great shape, and that's just not a good option. So Geomancer can be a viable option for this as well. And again, that goes to the same thing with your Allure here. She's got the A1 turn meter control. Very, very helpful, but there are other options for you as well. Ruella is actually a really good option. Ruella only has a 5% turn meter decrease, but it's a turn meter steal, so she gets herself faster as well as taking some turn meter off the boss. Plus, she has a turn meter boost on one of her abilities as well. Plus, she brings a decreased speed, a weaken, and a decreased defense. So if you can get those to land once and never use them again, you can give yourself some ability to propel your own team while keeping the turn meter under control as well. So she becomes a very good option for the Dark Fae as well. But as a single target damage dealer and a single target with those abilities, she is not good necessarily to control your clones to start with in the first place. But all kinds of different turn meter control champions. There's a lot of them out there. And then your damage dealer doesn't have to be a turn meter control champion, as long as you can ultimately try to rein in the boss. And if you can get the boss to never take a turn, you should have a 100% team. If the boss is going to take a turn, there's a chance your team might lose. But here's the thing about Dark Fae. Dark Fae is part of Doom Tower. And if you can win 50 to 75% of the time, I mean, even technically less than that, but honestly less than that's kind of rough. You can rerun these keys again and again and again. So if I have a 70% success rate and I win, as I'm running, 8 keys because I'm running 16 total keys for whatever else. So I run 8 keys and I'm losing 2 of those. Well, then I run it again and I might only lose 1 of those 2, or I might not lose 1 of those 2. And if I don't lose 1 of those 2, it's fine. And if I do, eventually I will hit that last one and I'm done. And that's fine. For Dark Fae, that amount of time is worth it, particularly because Dark Fae, if it's going to fail, generally it will fail fairly quickly into the run and not run for minutes upon minutes upon minutes before it finally fails at the end. Couple of interesting oddball champions that may actually still be very good for this as well. Archmage Helmet actually drops turn meter fairly significantly on this ability right here. So he can be a very useful champion for this. Plus he can put a stun up as well. So he could possibly stun or otherwise control your duplicates on his with this particular skill. And then he also brings the increased speed plus the increased crit rate and crit damage. So he could actually increase your ability to take down the Dark Fae faster by doing some of this extra damage as well. He gets some extra turn meter if this is critical as well, so he can boost his own turn meter up to keep that going as well. So Archmage Helmet could actually be a viable champion to help you out against the Dark Fae. Somebody like Bowsmith Flannan is not absolutely horrible. He's got the turn meter and he's got the decreased speed on this as well. Plus he has the ally attack, so he'll get his own A1 with some decreased turn meter and a chance to stun, as well as the ability for somebody else to come in and possibly add some additional hits on that A1 as well. And finally, one of the champions that's actually very good for this, but can basically cause you to fail as well because she is hard to kill, is Sill of the Drakes. Sill of the Drakes A1 gives you a wonderful decreased speed and some turn meter decreasing as well. 30% chance to decrease the target's turn by 15%. And you generally, if you can, are going to build her in Relentless, which means she every once in a while will get 2 or 3 or 4 of these attacks. Plus she'll keep everyone else on your team alive. Plus she's got a revive in case somebody dies for some strange reason as well, especially on the waves. Plus she does have this AoE stun, so you could certainly use this AoE stun to gain control of the enemy team as opposed to just, trying to outspeed it and out-nuke it. You could stun everyone else and then nuke them down if you can't get a back around to everything, especially if you can then come in with like a Cold Heart and steal a bunch of turn meter on the boss without really worrying about anybody surviving in the first place. So Sill can be very good for this as well. Finally, one of the other champions that can actually be really good for this as well is Armand's the Magnificent, because he has the turn meter steal with a 100% chance to stun as well on this on a 3-turn cooldown. So he can do basically a lot of what Geomancer is doing. The one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn off this sheep, because if he sheeps one of your clones on the enemy team when he's done with his stuns, well, that sheep is going to wreak havoc for you, because that sheep is going to basically get in your way, because when you kill everyone else, that sheep's going to become whatever they used to be, and you're going to have to deal with that champion not being dead instead of being dead, which is what you'd prefer. So that is going to be a bit of a problem. But if you're looking for control, Armand's can do a good amount of control for you as well. There are plenty of different options. I could not name all the champions that can probably help you here in Dark Fae, but you're looking for somebody with a speed lead in Doom Tower. It doesn't have to be specifically a Doom Tower one. It can be an all battles area. You're looking for people that are going to bring increased speed, increased turn meter, decreased turn meter, and at least one person that can deal enough damage to kill your enemy team before the rest of you guys take a turn. And then from there, you're looking to control the boss and just whittle the boss down as fast as possible before the boss gets another turn. So plenty of different and interesting champions you can use. I've named just a few of them and given you a couple of example teams. I'm pretty sure you guys are capable of finding the champions on your roster that can do what I'm telling you they need to do to farm Dark Fae. And there you have it. I've managed to beat Dark Fae with a 100% team, or at least so far it's been a 100% team. To be fair, I built this before I even tried Dark Fae. I am going to tweak the team a little bit. I'm going to make Cold Heart even faster than she is right now, because I'm very sure I can make her faster than 198 speed now. And we're we'll continue to farm this. It has been fun farming Dark Fae so far. I actually already have a champion in lethal because I managed to piece together some okay-ish lethal and put my Durandil in lethal, and that's been very good. But the ability to actually start making some, top-end 5-star and 6-star lethal gear is going to help transform this account even further. And the ability to do damage is going to help me in live arena. It's going to help me in regular arena and tag arena. It's going to help me in Chimera. It's going to help me in Hydra. It's going to help me in Faction Wars. It's going to help me against it. It's going to help me everywhere, because end game content wants to ignore defense for the damage dealers. So getting the best gear I can to ignore defense is going to turbocharge my account, and it will turbocharge your account as well. I have faith that you guys can put a game together. Plenty of options out there. And in fact, let me know down below, what is your Dark Fae team? I'm kind of curious. On my main, I'm running Necmo Thar, I'm running a Crezia, I'm running a Newt, I'm running a Deacon, and I'm running a Lore. Again, champions I've specifically called out in this video, but not too different from the team I'm running right now. Well, okay, maybe it's a little different. But that team is doing it faster. But again, that account has better gear, and Newt just makes bosses particularly fast, as does a Crezia. But it doesn't have to be fast. It has to be consistent. And as long as it's consistent enough to be 70 to 80%, then you can keep on running it and get a bunch of gear and farm lethal gear and make your account better. And yes, maybe it will be, at first, you're only doing, 70, 80%. But as your gear gets better, you will be able to build the champions faster, which will make the team more reliable, which will make everything work better for you. So I've got some great confidence before you. As I said before, let me know what you're running down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. This is really the Doom Tower boss to farm, if you can farm any Doom Tower boss. So have fun with this. Get that lethal gear. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I do appreciate you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. Much love to you guys in the community for keeping me going, and honestly, just for having fun playing Raid Shadow Legends. So until the next video, I am Bront CatHerder.